Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today in Warzone, we got a new meta update, albeit a bit of a smaller one. I still wanted to go through and readjust various different loadouts you might want to be running here in Warzone. Break down the general top 10, give you guys plenty of options, whether you're looking for some solid close range, some mid-range, some sniper support, whatever the case may be. So as we get into the loadouts, if you enjoy the video, if you find it helpful at all, do me a favor, drop a like on the video itself. And of course, if you're new here, you want to guarantee that every single day you are up to date with all things going on in COD, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. This is your one-stop shop for everything you need to know. So initially, when it comes to perks, I have actually made some changes here recently. I still feel like there's a lot of different good combinations you can use depending on your play style, but recently I've actually made the switch from using sleight of hand on most of my loadouts to Mountaineer, just because it's insane how versatile your gameplay can be when you don't have to worry about fall damage. You can drop out of the sky at pretty extreme distances, shoot players on your way down, smash into the ground, and have no worry. So Mountaineer is sort of my new go-to clutch perk for my perk 2 slot there, or perk 1/perk 2. Still running tempered because I much prefer the medic vests in game for the quick revive, and so I kind of get the best of both worlds there. And then I've gone for flex in perk 4. While there are so many different good options here, high alert, bird's eye was what I was mainly running before. Just the better audio, you have to have it if you want fights, especially with the skill based in this game. Everyone's sweaty, everyone's running this. If you're not using it, you're kind of at a disadvantage. So kind of a crutch perk there. Unfortunately, I have a feeling that'll probably be updated in time as we get some audio updates, but it is what it is. Those are all really solid perks, and I use those on all my loadouts there. And then smokes, my go-to tactical. They're just the great answer for everything, right? If you need cover, if you need to rotate, whatever the case may be, they're great to spam there. And then knives and frags are kind of my go-to. The frag damage is insane in this game, but if you want the instant finishes, obviously knives are fantastic as well. And the equipment and the perks, as mentioned, same on every single loadout. Let's focus on the actual weapons here, though. Initially, this first loadout, one of my favorites right now for resurgence or standard gameplay, we got the MTZ-762. Thing's a beast, insanely good TTK in full auto and semi-auto. I combine it with the Wasp-9, which is currently invisible, but it's a phenomenal secondary. Super low recoil, super easy to use, gets the job done quite nicely. So initially here for the MTZ-762, I'm really just focused on recoil control here because there's a decent amount. You want to make sure you're accurate with this thing. You only have a 30-round mag, so you have to run this, and you got to be very mindful of your ammo. 2.5 times optic, we're always running this, but that's all preference based. If there's a different optic that you prefer more, always go for that. I do use the precision blackthorn barrel. This helps out a ton with range velocity. Doesn't actually help out with control, but if you really need extra control, you could always go down to the clinch pro barrel as well. Bruen heavy support, we're kind of spamming this on a lot of our main mid to long range setups on this video. Today, you're going to see plenty of this. And then same deal with the spirit fire suppressor, the various alternatives of this on different weapons. It's the go-to because it's giving you better range velocity and control. So for mid to long range guns, it's an obvious choice. The MTZ, though, absolutely fries here still. And I imagine this one's probably due for a nerf with Season 1 Reloaded. We also have the Wasp-9 as mentioned, and this is a super easy weapon and very aggressive. So initially I go for the Shadow Strike suppressor. You don't really need better control or better velocity or anything like that. And you don't want to hurt your ADS speed with some of these other suppressors. So just simply staying off the radar is all I'm getting out of this, and it works just fine. DR6 hand stop, better mobility across the board, movement speed, ADS speed, sprint to fire, great for playing snappy and aggressive. The fire rate here is not all that crazy, so I go for the 40-round mag. It doesn't slow you down all that much. I go for the reflector sight here, the ELO sight in the Mark III. Not a huge fan of the irons anymore, so this is just keeping me accurate and keeping me consistent in gunfights. Then the factory stock, better mobility again with movement speed and ADS speed, so snappy, aggressive, pretty fast TTK, especially through the mid-range. Very reliable. Next up, we got my main sniping loadout here. The KATT, obviously being the only true one-shot sniper with any ammo type, is the go-to sniper. Then the Bas-B hasn't been nerfed, and its sniper support capabilities are phenomenal. So for the close range, 20, 30, 40 meters, this thing's frying, right? Initially, real quick, we'll look at this setup. It's got, a built-in suppressor and barrel, so it's the integrated suppressor option here. It's better for movement, but also keeps you off the radar. A really nice 2-in-1 there. Angled under barrel here gives me better horizontal control, just keeps the weapon way more predictable. It hurts your vertical, but in the close range and in the mid-range where we're using this, it's not really a huge deal, so it's not a huge con there. 45-round extended mag, obviously your go-to max option there. Reflector sight here, yet again, works fine for sniper support. Then the flash V8 light stock, not really doing too much to your control, but giving you a lot of mobility benefits, which just makes this more snappy and more aggressive, which obviously you want out of a sniper support option. Then for the KATT, same old here. We really just care about good velocity. This makes it almost like a hit scan type build. Nightfall suppressor, 23% increase to the velocity there. Zang barrel, 17% increase, really 18% increase to the velocity there. Spire point round, rounds, 34% increase to the velocity there, almost a 1300 velocity, which is just insane for that. I also go for the rubberized stock here. You could also go for the tack pad if you just simply want a better ADS, but I kind of like the movement benefits of this. If I have this out as a primary, it can be pretty useful for that, but either or there works just fine. Then just behind the face cam, I've got the quick bolt. This allows me to shoot a little bit faster. And if you want to go ahead and grab a screenshot there, I'll go ahead and hide the face cam for you. If you are using the screenshots, by the way, to help you out, a like would be really appreciated, but clearly the #1 best choice for snipers right now. Now, loadout 3, surprise, surprise, the Interceptor. But Zach, the Interceptor got nerfed today. It needs 1 extra shot over long range. Most scenarios, if you can land upper body shots, you don't feel the nerf. This nerf today was so underwhelming. Now, it is going to get nerfed again in 1 week with Season 1 Reloaded. I think a lot of these weapons probably will in this video, so use them while you can. But today's nerf did not, put this thing in the ground by any means. It's still a go-to option, and the setup's the same as before for me. 2.5 times optic. Obviously, the 20-round mag, you want the max ammo capacity there. Bruen heavy support's really good. The Ripper foregrip or underbarrel there is really good as well for centering and stabilization, so either or works fine there. Spirit fire suppressor, same deal as before. Then the Blackthorn barrel, best range, best velocity possible, makes it really easy to use over long range. It is nerfed, like, yes, in certain situations that you will require an extra shot to kill, but if you're super accurate with this thing, and you've probably gotten used to it by now, so you are accurate with it, you're not going to notice a huge change here, unfortunately. And I pair that with the Swarm, insane TTK up close, the best SMG also being spammed right now. 100% is going to get nerfed here soon, too. I go for the Lacerda Compensator initially. Helps out with 25% horizontal. Makes it so predictable with this pattern here. You don't really have any shake and back and forth action there, so really allows you to stay on target easily. Reckless 90 long barrel, better control, velocity, and range. Getting extra range there is pretty clutch because this thing is so good through that first damage range. DR6 hand stop, obviously better movement like we saw before. 50 round extended mag, if you want to do 100, you certainly can. Your movement's just going to be decently slower, so keep that in mind. Then I also go for the heavy stock. It only hurts your ADS speed by just under 2%, but gives you 20% to control, which is huge. So I basically have a setup here that keeps this snappy and aggressive, but also makes it super easy to use as well. The recoil here is not really, a huge problem whatsoever. So really consistent swarm setup. After that, we've got one of my favorite combinations in the game, the Pulemyot, which might be my favorite gun in the game. This thing is so much fun to use. And I go for the Striker, which is just so forgiving. You can hit leg shots or chest shots, and the TTK is basically going to be the same. So one of the best weapons in the game for any type of skill. Initially for the Pulemyot, not too many changes here. I actually need to update this setup in particular. This class setup didn't actually adjust with my recent changes. So we want to go for the Commando D15 recoil pad stock here. It's giving you great control across the board and not really hurting your mobility all that much, which is really nice to see. We also got the 2.5 times optic here again, obviously. The Bullpup kit, which gives you crazy mobility for an LMG while keeping 100 rounds on it, which is just unfair. Again, I feel like this is probably going to get nerfed. The long barrel's on here as well for better range and velocity. And we go for the Spirit Fire Suppressor, control, velocity, and range. That 3-in-1 combo, yet again. Not too many changes with this setup. I am going to go ahead and update that blueprint, though, so it saves for the future. Super easy. It's a laser beam and has a gnarly TTK. Then pair it with the Striker, which, like I said, is so forgiving and also super easy to use, and you can't go wrong with it. Shadow Strike Suppressor here, you don't need the controller velocity, and of course, you don't want to hurt the ADS speed, so just simply staying off the radar with that. The MSP98 hand stop's a great choice here. It helps out with a little bit of control, which makes it just more consistent, but also some decent movement speed. That said, DR6 is great. Choke is really good. Like, you got a bunch of options here. You can flip-flop really and have no wrong answer. 7 milliwatt laser, snappier ADS and sprint to fire, very straightforward there. 48 round mag does the job just fine with this fire rate in my opinion. Then I go for the light stock as well, better movement with your base movement speed and your sprint speed. Hurts the control a little bit, but this gun's so easy to use that's not going to be a huge deal in the end. Another loadout I really enjoy using is the TAC Eradicator with the iron sights, because it's basically the Scar iron sights. It's just like the hammer from BO2. Pair that with the ISO 9, one of the few MW2 guns that does truly shine right now. This thing is so good up close, and if the Swarm gets nerfed and this doesn't, this will be the new #1 SMG easily. This thing's TTK in the first 10 meters or so is insanely fast. Shadow Strike Suppressor here, very basic. The 50 round drum is the max, and with this fire rate, you absolutely want to be running that. 7 milliwatt laser again. I don't like the irons and how they behave with like the shake in this game, so I do go for a slate reflector, and the ELO would work well too, but it's all preference there. Just choose whatever one you're going to be the most accurate with. Then I go for the sheer rear grip, better ADS and sprint to fire. Hurts the control a little bit, but not a huge deal in the close range where we're going to be using this, obviously. So really snappy, really aggressive SMG build here as well with a phenomenal TTK. One of the best in the game. Then the Eradicator setup, like I said, is built around the iron sights because they're just so clean. So instead, I can focus on great control here, and this thing turns into a laser beam. We got the Spirit Fire Suppressor, same deal as always there. The Conquer 70 long barrel, better range, better velocity. Bruen heavy under barrel, obviously for the better horizontal control mainly is what we're getting out of that. It does give you a little bit for vertical and general gun kick too. The Combat Rear Grip, straight up better control, hurts your idle sway a tad bit, but not a huge deal. And then also the Core Stock, better control for very minimal mobility cons there, and it's an LMG. We really don't care too much about mobility if we're using this thing to begin with, but such a versatile LMG at that, this thing's a ton of fun to use. Now, even though the preview for Loadout 6 is not accurate whatsoever, it is the Bruen, and then I combine this with a Lockwood. So I really got all ranges covered here. This Lockwood setup for close range is pretty nuts. It's like a consistent 2 to 3 shot knock, and you can really go crazy with this thing if you're accurate. Hipfire or ADS. I focus more on ADS because I feel like that's more consistent for me, but you could always flip-flop some, you know, attachments like the laser here for better hip fire and whatnot. Initially, sawed-off mod for the stock increases mobility across the board. You want that for the aggression. 7 milliwatt for the better ADS and sprint to fire, no brainer there. Hand stop for better mobility across the board. Movement speed, ADS speed, sprint to fire, all really clutch. The Defender barrel gives you 10 shells, which really increases the ability to have those 2 to 3 shot knocks and really spam this and feel incredibly dominant up close. And then the Bryson choke will help out with that ADS accuracy as well. The hip fire and tack stand spread is also increased. If you want to use this for a hip fire build, it would be decent for that too, but obviously with the ADS, it makes it more accurate and more deadly, if you will. So super solid shotgun build here. Then for the Bruen, this thing is low recoil and it's just like MW 2019, really aggressive like an AR LMG hybrid. 2.5 times optic, no surprises, no changes there. 60 round mag makes this way more aggressive and really what turns it into that rifle style build. Bruen underbarrel, heavy support yet again, no surprises there. Spirit Fire Suppressor yet again. Then I go for the Horizon barrel. It's a little bit better velocity and also focuses on some control. So you have a laser beam gun that now becomes even easier to use. Phenomenal TTK from 0 to, you know, 100 meters. This thing's so consistent and so reliable and one of the best choices in the game. Hey everyone, as we kick off 2024, one of my personal goals is to up my game, and I'm doing that with the help of my friends over at G Fuel. And with that said, I want to see you all up your game this year as well. And if you're looking to stay focused and energized, look no further than G Fuel. My go-to flavor to kick off the year, it's got to be hype sauce. This is a classic and OG and still one of my absolute favorites to this day. So maybe you're camo grinding, trying to break your PR in Warzone, whatever the case may be. If you want to pick up some G Fuel, code Immortal always has you covered with that nice discount at checkout, and the link for that will be down in the description below. I guess the game just doesn't feel like updating the previews, but this next loadout is sort of my experimental one. We've got the SVA, which as we know is crazy consistent. Then the Vel 46, the MP7 from MW2. This thing's actually pretty surprising in like the early mid-range. It's not crazy good through like the first 8-10 meters. It's reliable enough as an SMG, but then in the mid-range, it really starts to outgun a lot of other SMG options. So it's got some versatility to it. This setup's built more around mobility and aggressiveness. So I got the Soldier Rear Grip, helps out with ADS and sprint to fire, hurts your control a little bit, but this gun is super easy to use. 50 round extended mag works just fine in my opinion. 7 milliwatt lasers, snappier ADS and sprint to fire yet again. The angled underbarrel helps out that horizontal control once more and makes the pattern so predictable. You're gonna be able to use this really efficiently, even in like some 20, 30, 40 meter fights if you find yourself in that situation. Then I go for the dart barrel, helps out with a little bit of velocity and a little bit of control there. Hurts your mobility some, but we gain that back elsewhere. That just makes it nice and consistent. I really like the feel of this build. If you wanted to go for more sniper support, you could put on a longer barrel that'll help out with, you know, range and whatnot. So you can definitely mess around with some builds there, but would recommend the MP7. It's actually pretty surprising. Then for the SVA, if you want to use this in, you know, semi-auto burst mode, you could do so. If you want to use this in full auto, you could do so. Either way, this thing is going to be really consistent and so easy to use. 2.5 times optic yet again, no changes there. 45 round extended mag. You could jump up to 60 as well if you wanted to, just a matter of being a little bit slower. If you're okay with that, go for it. No wrong answer there. Bruen heavy support yet again. Spirit Fire Suppressor yet again. Then we go for the precision barrel. Better range, better velocity, better control, better pizza. Papa John's. We had to throw it in here at least one time. But yeah, if you want to use hyper burst and spam this thing, the TTK is crazy good. If you want to use this full auto where it's just low recoil, it's a laser beam, also crazy good. no bad choice. Now, next up, I got another sniper loadout here that I sort of throw in when I want to spice things up a little bit. Same KATT setup as before, so we don't have to go over that again. But in this case, I'm using the Chimera. This thing is really good as sniper support, and for rifles, absolutely dominates the close range. The first 20 meters or so, this thing just laps everything else, and it's going to outgun SMGs there as well. So initially here, I got the reflector sight, just helps out with that visibility in the close to mid range, makes me more accurate, and if it does for you, great. If you want to use the irons, I'd probably trade that out for like a laser, 7 milliwatt for that better ADS. 45 round extended mag, you're still going to want to have this for squad fights. Angled underbarrel here yet again, same deal as before, helping out with that horizontal control. I go for the Vorpal barrel, helps out with range a little bit, hurts your velocity, but that's not a huge deal for, you know, sniper support style fights, and also gives you a little bit of mobility as well. Then we got Shadow Strike Suppressor. If you wanted to go for Spirit Fire and you're okay with the slower ADS, you could jump up to that, but for me, this weapon's easy enough to use. I don't really need the control. The velocity and the range would be nice, but I'd rather have a snappier ADS for some of the close range fights there. But definitely experiment around, see what works well for you. Either way, this thing's pretty fun and really, really good. Now, next up, I've got the MCW 6.8, which is also a really, really good marksman rifle. And if you didn't want to use the Interceptor, maybe you're bored of it, you want to use for the future, you know, plan for that, the MCW is basically next in line here. And quite frankly, if you can land your shots consistently, it is better than the Interceptor at basically all ranges, right? And I pair this with the WASP-9, same setup as before, so we don't need to rehash that yet again. As far as this MCW setup goes, though, initially 2.5 times optic on here. I go for the assault stock, better control, just making it easier to use over range. Something that I definitely want to emphasize more now is upgrading to the 60-round drum. Obviously, we did a video on this a few days back, and I was using 30. You run out of ammo. You can spam fast with this thing, and so the sniper ammo does run out, just like it would on the Interceptor. Having a 60-round drum is a game changer and makes life way easier. Bruen heavy support, obviously clutch for the idle sway. The better horizontal control makes the pattern more predictable. And of course, Spirit Fire Suppressor once more. No surprises there. And then lastly, here we have what, in my opinion, is probably one of the most fun loadouts in the game. It's the Iron Sight build RAM that we covered the other day, which is surprisingly good over long range, but in the mid range, also super efficient. It's low recoil. Insane TTK, best in class for the rifles. I paired this with the same swarm setup that we had before, so once more, we don't need to revisit that again. Same across the board. Playlist update. You couldn't wait until I was done with the last loadout. Where were we? Iron Sight RAM. Super low recoil, Spirit Fire Suppressor to kick things off with the 3-in-1 benefits there. Cormark Heavy Barrel helps out again with better control, better range, better velocity, better pizza, so just increasing the efficiency in the mid to long range. Bruen Heavy Underbarrel yet again. 60-round drum you definitely want here. It is a faster fire rate. You don't want to be running out of ammo with this thing. Then we go for the Iron Sight, so I actually go and use the stock pad instead. This helps out with idle sway, so less, you know, RNG there, and a more consistent recoil pattern that's not too bad there. So this thing is a laser beam. Some players will want to go for an optic, and if you want to drop the you know, stock for that, you could do so. Use it 2.5 times, use an elo, but the iron sights are so clean here, and it's just such an easy build that it ends up being a ton of fun, and it fries as mentioned. That being said, those are currently the top 10 best loadouts to run here in Warzone post Interceptor nerf. That wasn't a huge nerf, but it is what it is. Season 1 Reloaded will certainly shake things up here, so it'll be interesting to see how, you know, things compare now versus in a week's time. And we'll, of course, be covering the future meta updates and the best loadouts when the time comes. But if you enjoyed this video, if you found it helpful, do me a favor, drop a like on it. And if you're new here, you want to guarantee that every single day you're up to date with all things going on, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy. Have an awesome rest of your day. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.